my first slide, digital revolution in India's Techade. It's borrowed from Prime Minister Modi. So I haven't added anything. It's IBM which borrowed it from on 15th of August, the speech made by Prime Minister Modi. So my agenda will be mostly on digital revolution. We have talked about digital transformation. We have talked about digitalization. We have talked about IT. And we're going to talk about, as Mr. Satyanarayan said, we will talk about digital revolution, and we will also talk about ecosystem technology and emerging technology. So my agenda will start from the disruptive forces. It's a little negative start, but we need to know what is the background where we come from and where the technology and the opportunities will come for us to address. Disruptive forces are the powerful global forces which are outside our control. From it, it'll emerge, there'll be emerging consequences on government. Then there'll be emerging consequences will also lead to pressing challenges and, of course, our provoked opportunities coming from these challenges and disruptive forces. And there in our provocative opportunities, we need to tie up with an essential innovation partner who can look at not only a digitalization or IT part, but yes, be a part of that proper digital transformation. So I will be covering on these three things in the next slide. What are the digital forces we are talking about, which are beyond our control? We know the changing climate. I needn't go into detail. London faced the biggest, warmest summer this year. Increasing urbanization. It's nothing new. There's a thrust coming in from rural people coming into urbanization for jobs, for other things. It's a pressure on our infrastructure. Government has to look at how to provide infrastructure to the surging people coming in from rural areas. There are 80% in developed nations. It's 80% urbanization going to happen in next 10 years. And in India, if we compare, 45%. That's quite a lot. Then we have, I'm not going to cover all of them, but yeah, one of them will be, which is imbalances in changing demographies, which government has to look. What is changing? Do you know that there'll be 80 to 85% more women force will be joining? You can see it anyway. So joining workforce. There'll be millennials. Millennials will be constituting 75% of the workforce. So these are the things which going to change the whole things in coming next 5-10 years. Now these challenges for the present government, which are 5 major challenges which government has to deal with and come up with an answers, is a long-term demand for services. People are going to demand for services. I, as a citizen, want one single window for government to serve me. I don't want to go to government anymore. I want government to come to me. Shift in fiscal priorities. You know that, does anybody know here what was the total debt in COVID, global debt? 20 trillion. Climate change, we talked about it. Future of workforce, skills will be changing. The unskilled and the reskilling and the upgrading of the skills has to happen. This is also which government has to look. Trust in government. Although I heard from previous presenter, Mr. Srinivas, that it is 71% in India, and actually it is great. Globally, do you know how much it is? Only 41% of the people believe in their government that they're going to deliver better. What are the pressing challenges? Challenge number 1 for government at the moment is increasing the quality citizen service. We are very smart now. We want services. We will only let government which gives services to us and come to our doorstep. We have also partnered in new ways to accelerate. The government will have a challenge of partnering in new ways to accelerate all this public value chain. Then we have addressing the cyber threats and vulnerabilities. We have, so with digitalization, we have those challenges coming in. We have to take care of critical, fragile systems and protect them well. Emerging consequences on government. What will be the effect of these challenges and disruptive forces will have on government, will have on citizen and society? How our citizens will get affected? They will demand more productivity. They will demand more services. As the demand goes up, the trust in government has to be built up. How government will get impacted? New ecosystem role. We J. Satyanarayan sir talked about ecosystem technology. This is the next way forward for next 5 years. Public-private partnership, building up. Core competency for government is to deliver governance. Minimum government, maximum governance. How is it possible? Unless we have a partner in IT, partner in technology, and a great partner which can actually be there for 10 years. How is it affecting the society at large? Severity of natural and man-made disasters is on high. I mean, we can't even talk about it. This was initially was a little concerning factor, but now after COVID, it's staring at us. Short term it has overtaken long term. People are impatient. We want delivery. We want services at our fingertips. Systemic physical cyber risk are increasing. We talked about it. Now, what are the opportunities we're going to be a little positive about it? How are these disasters and the challenges we can convert it into opportunities, and what are the imperative actions which government has to take? I will talk about the emerging technologies, ET, which JSAT talked about. These are the ones which are going to take over our system. These are very important and integral part of building a system to address all the disruptive forces and the challenges which we talked about. Artificial intelligence, blockchain, cloud, cybersecurity is the most important thing. APIs and microservices to build up that integrated platform for us. Automation and advanced robotics. These are the few emerging technologies which we have to build in our system to take care of all that challenges and disruptive forces I've talked about. What are the imperative right now actions for government? We've heard them. There are a lot of portals now. We have services being given through digitally. We are servicing public at large. But what is it now that they have to? What next? We can talk of Gati Shakti, we can talk about labor, we can talk about GEM. The other day I was talking to all three of the secretaries there. They all want to go beyond portals. They all want to go have a integrated platform with all the at least 4 to 5 ministries. For Gati Shakti, there are 6 ministries which have to be integrated. Look at the mammoth amount of work we have in front of us. Government has to build in all those, and they cannot do without a partner, without a very innovative bringing in technology, global technology on the plate. You look at GEM. GEM the other day, CEO was talking about that I'm going to integrate it with ONDC. Now, and Amit Shah ji said it in one of the forums that cooperatives will also be a part of it. Now, look at that. So that is what we are talking about. We are beyond portals. We are beyond platforms. We are an integrated platform government now. Then, of course, the scaling of services happen. You have to achieve sustainability. Carbon dioxide. In the last history of world, or Earth, you can say, in the last 50 years, we have 50 times the amount of carbon dioxide in this environment. Government has to take care of this. So along with the digitalization, IT, what we are talking about, we have to take care of the ecosystem of sustainability as well. Empower workforce, which we talked about. There's a changing workforce, which government has to address. There's a rising unemployment. All these things have to change and bring it together in a platform. For example, a labor platform. There are 5 portals at the moment working around. We have to integrate those portals and work on it. Then we have to develop ethical data. We have talked about AI and analytics. What is it if there is no ethics? We have to work around for data privacy, data residency. All these things have to only work when there is when we do AI for good. What all this leads to? A seamless government. Let's not talk about the interoperability at the back. Let's talk about the seamless government. One window with all these technologies at the back end. Government can transform this world for better. I'm just going to talk about a little bit about IBM. My colleague Lata will talk about in more detail about IBM, but this is what IBM is investing. IBM itself is a company which is more than a century old. They have been reinventing themselves. Who to look at when government has to, when there is a reinvention, there are so many disruptive forces and challenges coming over. This is IBM, what they invest in and reinvent themselves. Open architecture, which JSAT sir talked about, everything open. We work on open architecture. We have a governance model in place. There is deploy anywhere. We have industry standards set up. Optimal IT operations, we have worked on optimized IT operations for long. Who else than IBM can actually give you and get it off the platform as fast as possible? We also have a lot of sociology people with us, sociology experts with us, who just don't talk about technology, but at the large, we have sustainability people, we have sociology people, we have technology people. We are a technology company. We shouldn't even talk about it. So that's IBM for you. I will hand it over to Lata, who will now talk about IBM and technology. Thanks, Lata.
So am I audible? Good morning. As Nandini mentioned, technology is transforming the way we live. All of us have seen it in the last few years, especially the last 2 years. It's really speeded up very fast. So the way we live, the way we engage, the way we learn, the way we enjoy is all because technology is touching our lives. The Honorable Prime Minister talked about the Trinity, right? JAM, Jandhan, Aadhaar, and mobile. And that is what has really made the change. Where is the next big change going to come from? Two important aspects. Number one, the 5G rollout. All of you are following the news. All of you know the 5G rollout is going to happen. What is the 5G rollout going to really affect? It's going to give you 10x the throughput, 15x the latency, and 10x the number of devices that are going to get connected. Can you imagine the amount of data, and the Honorable Prime Minister talked about Industry 4.0, that will be created at the edge. So the amount of data that our industries are going to create, not just right in their offices, but at the edge, is going to be immense. The second part, the demand for internet from rural area means that we will have more than 1 billion smartphone users, right, by 2026. Again, what's going to happen? Data, right? Data is going to be generated at every location, every milestone, every home, every individual. Is going to be structured and unstructured data, right? And what are we going to do with that data? That is where India is going to be. We are going to be the data power of global. That's where we are headed for. And how are we going to do it over the next decade? That's my point. Right? So what are we looking at? In a virtual environment, we're looking at how do we get cognitive governance. What is virtual environment? All of us have worked virtually in the last few years, and it's such a pleasure to see all of you here, really a pleasure. We're looking at not just inside, right? Inside your offices, inside the departments, but we're looking at outside, the ecosystem that delivers. And we're looking at out there, where none of us know. But there are people there who are working on it. So we're looking at a cognitive governance framework. What does the cognitive governance framework constitute of? One is business and service platforms. We heard the honorable guest talk about platforms, right? His Excellency talked about a health, and the way that they've moved the health facilities to the citizens is immense. We're looking at ONDC, GEM. These are platforms. Let me give you another example. We're looking at agriculture, right? What is it? The Kisan needs to look at the agriculture platform, not just for seeds, not for fertilizers, but how is the industry going to do, or the larger ecosystem going to invest in the commercial platforms that are going to drive the business, right? Because you're going to have industry, which is banking, insurance. They're looking at the soil. They're looking at how much loan, how much insurance they should be able to give to the fertilizers. So business and service platforms are important. Services to citizen, services to business, and also obviously business, because ultimately it's demand, supply chain, and economics of the country that matter. So we need to double down on the big bets that we want to put our platforms on. Number two is obviously create new business platforms and orchestrate the compelling change that starts at the grassroots level. So we are actually building an India for global. It's no longer about looking at what global is doing and how do we implement it in India. It's about making the change here and then showcasing it to global. Number two, intelligent workflows. What does intelligent workflows mean? We heard Mr. Srinivasan talk about the e-office. We heard about the supply chain. We heard about the paperless office that has been already done. So we're looking at automating mundane tasks. We're looking at how do we really look at exponential technologies like blockchain, AI, IoT, and also, by the way, quantum. Looking at how do we really embed it into the framework that we're doing it. Drive value from data that while some departments have still brought together, it is still siloed. How do we bring it together to deliver more? Because only when we do that can we actually build a platform that will deliver much more. And finally, deploy it on a hybrid multi-cloud, right? It cannot be only cloud. It cannot be only prem. It has to be in a multi-cloud environment. Now, when we do all of this, how are we going to do it? It is going to be through the enterprise experience and humanity. Let's not forget that we are people. We are connected to each other. So the human angle really is important. And we're looking at good tech. We're looking at AI that is trustworthy. We're looking at how do we deliver much more. And we're looking at cultivating smart leadership. We've talked about, Mr. Srinivasan talked about, how do we bring difference in the way that we work. We talked about skills and culture, the pride in India, the pride in our language, right? We need to bring all of that together, bringing in technology, and finally, the agility, the purpose, and the sustainability. So let me give you one example of this is, we want to eradicate hunger. How do we do that? We are building, looking at how do we get more inputs for the farmers, so that he gets more profit and is able to grow, right? How is that going to happen? And at the same task, we're going to look at sustainability right at the grassroots, that is carbon footprint reduction. So we're looking at from the grassroots level to something that is good for human touch, which is eradicating hunger. But how are we going to really bring it together in one platform to deliver much more to the industry as well as to the citizen? That is what cognitive governance framework is. Now, how does IBM really, what does IBM focus and what do we deliver to help you? How does IBM focus and deliver and help you in your journey to cognitive governance? It is through these 4 pillars: automate, predict, secure, modernize, and all with ethical AI. I will move to the next slide because it has that. Now, when we really look at what is the requirement, one key thing is predict. How are we predicting supply chain? How are we predicting citizen service? How are we predicting health? All of this can be only done through the data and AI that we have, right? All of us have data. It is in silos. There's an amount of data that is going to explode. How do we bring that together to predict the supply chain needs? Also, predict the new policies that need to be deployed based on what is the input we are getting from the citizen services that we are rolling out. Number 2, automate. We talked about already some processes and most of the basic processes are already in place, but how do we really bring in AI into it? And how do we look at frictionless engagement as we automate our processes? And this is where, which is key to us. And when we look at automate, it is both IT and OT side as well. Please, let's keep that in mind as well. Modernize, and this is important. I'll come to the security last of all. When we look at modernize, we're looking at our existing infrastructure. In the last 2 decades, we've already rolled out technology. We need to look at, is it sufficient? Do we need to modernize it? And there's definitely, when we talked about exponential technologies, it is not only just the IT, OT, blockchain, but also the basic IT infrastructure, which is the network, which is the servers. Are we looking at what is required for the next wave of applications that we're building to deliver to the citizens? We're also looking at ensuring that once we've developed the apps, there's a consistent modernization of it. So modernization or modernize does not happen once. We saw the eGov 1.0 applications move to the eGov 2.0, and it is a consistent engagement. As corporates say, right, all our employees, need much more, right? They need more gratification, and the same is for citizens. We are spoiled, all of us, with having every service delivered at our thumb, right? Will we want more? Absolutely. Therefore, there is a consistent need to modernize, and all of this needs to be done with an open architecture. And these are the 4 pillars that IBM has: technology, predict, data AI, automate, security, which is both, by the way, digital and threat. And nothing can be done without really securing your internal, external, because the threat is both from your internal as well as the external threats. So open architecture, predict, use the data AI, automate your processes, secure everything. Remember, trust no one, right? and modernize what you have already implemented. This is the framework for the cognitive governance. We talked about investing in India, and that's an important part about skill. How is IBM investing in India? How are we looking at skills? We have a STEM for Girls program that we're running in 13 states across India. Recently, we had the Honorable Finance Minister in Nagaland visited during the CSR conclave, where we're actually enabling the teachers to learn more on the STEM so that they can enable more students. Last week in Chandigarh, 40 girls from across government states in Haryana actually built their drones and flew them. It was, I can tell you, I had immense pride as being an IBMer, as well as an Indian, as well as a woman. So amazing work that is going on at the ground level to build skills, confidence in girls, but more is building skills for the future that are so much required in the industry. The IBM Skill Build platform is a global platform which addresses the needs of both the educators, the job seekers, and students. I would request everyone to really go to the site and look at it. So not only are we looking at how do we help you build a cognitive framework through our data AI, automate, secure, and modernize platforms, but we're also looking at building the skills that are required for the future. So thank you so much. And all of you, if you have time, visit the expo where you can meet our data AI and security and automation technical specialists who can further deep dive into it. And I will end by saying one IBM, but many solutions. So thank you so much. Dhanyavad.